My name is Walton Wider. I am a professor in the Faculty of Business and Communications at Inti International University, Malaysia. Today, I am excited to share insights on bibliometric analysis as a mapping tools for the contextual behavior science research landscape. In these presentations, I will explore the transformative role of bibliometric analysis in behavioral science research. So this quantitative tool enables us to map and also understand the network of publications and also trends within these dynamic fields. So as we delve into the practical applications of bibliometrics, we will also uncover how it helps in identifying influential research, emerging trends, and also the key themes in behavioral sciences. So this approach not only enriches our academic landscapes, but also guides future research directions. So let us start by understanding some of the key terms that we will be frequently used in these presentations. The term biblio is rooted in the Greek word biblion, right? Which means book. So in ancient Greece, this referred to scrolls or tablets, but today it's part of many English words that related to books or literatures. For instance, bibliography could refer to a list of sources in academic work. We also have the word bibliophile, which describes someone who loves books. And we also have bibliotherapy, right? Which is the therapeutic use of books. So now let us look at matrices, which derive from the Greek word metrikos, which means measurement. It is used in the modern English to describe systems of measurements, crucial in quantifying and evaluating various phenomena. We can see this term like business metrics, performance metrics in computing, and also health metrics in healthcare, right? If we combine these two words, we get bibliometrics. This field uses statistical methods to analyze publications like books and articles. So it is especially important in the academia, where we quantify the impact of articles or publications, often through citation counts, in order to assess their influence in a particular field. So what exactly is bibliometric analysis? So it is a performance analysis and also science mapping using the quantitative approach, and is being increasingly employed to map the structure and the development of scientific fields and disciplines. Why I have a hawk here, imagine that we are standing on a high vantage point, overlooking a vast and complicated landscape of books, articles, and other publications. So this is the world of scientific research, very rich and sprawling. Now think of bibliometric analysis as having a magical pair of binoculars in this scenario. So with these binoculars, we can see the sheer number of books and articles on a specific topic spread across the landscape. So the authors behind these works, their frequency of publications and their interconnections, we can also see. We can also see the most referenced publications, all right, which indicate their significance to other researchers. And we can also see the connections between publications or literature, showing how one article might frequently reference to the another, therefore create a pathway across the field. We can also see the dynamic evolutions of the landscape, revealing which topics are gaining prominence and which are receding. So the bird's eye view offered by the bibliometric analysis can offer us invaluable insights. It tells us what the field has been, guide us on where it's heading, and even highlights what's currently making waves. Right, so I would say it's like having both a map and a compass for navigating the expansive world of scientific research, which allow us to chart a course through this this landscape of knowledge. Now, just now I mentioned about the performance analysis and science mapping, right? So these are two of the matrices that are very important in bibliometric analysis. So I would like to further explain on this part. When it comes to performance analysis, there are some crucial matrices in academic researches. So in understanding these metrics is essential for comprehending the impact and reach of a particular research scholarly work. So the first one is the number of publications. So this metric is straightforward but very important. It represents the total number of publications, be it articles, paper, which produced by an individual or a research group. So it's a primary indicator of productivity and can offer insight into the breadth of research that being conducted. Secondly is the citation count. The citation count measures how many times a publication has been cited by other works. So this is very significant metric as it will indicate the influence and relevance of a publication within the academic community. So if we found that a high citation count, it suggests that the work has been cited or critically referenced in that particular field. The third one is the journal impact. This refers to the impact factor of journals where the research is published. All right, and the last but not least is the collaboration. So this metric looks at the nature and also the extent of collaboration in research. So we can see co-authorship, cross-institutional, and even cross-country collaborations. Therefore, we can it can provide insights into how researchers are networking and combining their expertise. So second part of the bibliometric analysis is the elements in science mapping. So science mapping is a visual representations of how various research topics or fields or even individual publications relate to each other. So it's a tool for understanding the structure and also dynamics of scientific research. So there are four different key elements of science mapping. The first one is the cluster. So in science maps, cluster represent a group of research that are closely related to each other. So these clusters can be formed based on shared topics, even methodologies or citations. So identifying clusters help us to see how knowledge in a field is interlinked, right? And secondly is the trends. Trends in science mapping show us the direction in which a field is evolving. So this includes emerging topics, increasing or even decreasing publication rates on certain subjects, or shifts in research focus. So trends help us to predict future development and identify areas for innovations for further studies. Thirdly is the gaps. So just as important as identifying clusters and trends, in spotting the gaps. So these are the areas with limited research, underexplored topics, or even missing links between clusters. So identifying gaps is a crucial for guiding future research. So as it shows us where there is potential for significant contributions and even discoveries. Last but not least is the influencers. In the context of science mapping, influencers are key publications, authors, or even institutions that have a significant impact on a field. So there might be highly cited papers, authors with a large number of publications, or even institutions leading in the research efforts. By identifying influencer, it can help us to understand who or what is shaping the current and future landscape of a field. So this is just the different types or techniques of bibliometric. Like I mentioned just now, performance analysis evaluates the contribution of research constitutes, including publication-related metrics, citation-related metrics, and citation publication-related metrics. The science mapping focuses on the relationship between research constitutes. Therefore, you can use different type of analysis in order to evaluate this. All right. Each of these techniques actually offers a unique lens to view and interpret the vast world of academic research. Again, performance analysis gives us a measure of impact and productivity, while science mapping provides a visual and relational understanding how different aspects of research are interconnected. So using these two techniques together, they form a powerful toolkit for bibliometric analysis, which allow us to gain deep and actionable insight into the structure and dynamic of scientific research. In this case, um, 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 behavioral science research landscape. Sorry. If you still cannot comprehend, right, these two techniques, let me just explain in a layperson way. Yeah? To understand this, let's draw an analogy with soccer, right? So in soccer, a player's performance is assessed through various statistics, like goals scored, assists provided, number of shots taken, and many more. So these statistics provide a tangible measure of a player contributions and also his effectiveness on the field, right? Similarly, in the world of academic research, performance analysis is akin to evaluating a researcher's or institution's game in the scientific community, right? So it involves looking at the number of publications, um, citations, journal impact, and other matrices. Just as a soccer player's statistics offer insight into their skills and impact on the game, so performance analysis in research can provide a quantifiable measure of a researcher's or institution impact on contributions to their field. All right. Moving from performance analysis to science mapping, let's continue with our soccer analogy. If performance analysis is looking at a player at the player's individual statistics, then science mapping is akin to understanding the entire dynamics of a soccer player. So it's not just about the goals and assists, it's about observing which players frequently pass to each other. So their positions on the field, team strategies, and even the rivalries between teams, all right? The competition between teams. So this perspective helps us comprehend the flow of the game, the relationships, and even the overall pattern of play. So in the academic research, science mapping serves a similar purpose. It goes beyond individual research performance, which we want to explore the relationship between, for example, the relationship between papers. All right, we want to examine how different research papers cite each other, revealing connections and also influences. We can also explore the research collaborations. We can look at co-authorship and institutional collaborations to understand how researchers and institutions are networked. And we can also, at the same time, identify which topics are gaining tractions and seeing where the current focus of study is, right? And I think last but not least is we can also explore the areas with concentrated studies. So science mapping can show us which area in the field of studies are receiving the most attention. So essentially, science mapping creates a so-called map of the research landscape. It provides a comprehensive view of how different elements within academic research are interconnected, which help us to navigate and understand the scientific knowledge. So in science mapping, again, according to Don2 et al., there are 5 different techniques that you can use. So I will explain briefly on each of the techniques under science mapping. All right. So we have citation analysis, co-citation analysis, bibliographic coupling, co-word analysis, and co-authorship analysis. So the first one, citation analysis, is the core component of science mapping. So this technique is built on the fundamental premise, citations between publications. When one publication cites another, it's not just a reference, it's an acknowledgement of the influence and relevance of the cited work. All right. So citation analysis can help us to map the intellectual landscape of the field, revealing which publications are cornerstones and how they interconnect to form the broader structure of scientific knowledge. So there are several ways we can map this publication in citation analysis. Firstly, we can map the documents which involve papers, articles, or book. All right. We can also map sources. Here we look at the journals, conference proceedings, so other sources where these publications are published. All right. And we can also map the authors. By mapping authors, we gain insight into which researchers are leading and shaping the field. And we can also map the organizations, looking at the universities, research institutes, or even corporations associated with the publications. And we can also map the countries. We analyze which country, the countries from which these publications originated. All right. We can also highlight which regions are contributing significantly to the field. All right. So these are some of the common questions authors use in the citation analysis. All right. The first one, which authors have had the most influence on research in a journal. So we can, these questions focus on identifying key researchers whose work has significantly shaped the specific journals. We want to pinpoint the key contributor if you are using this kind of questions. You can also use the second question, which journal and disciplines have had the greatest impact. All right, here we are looking at the broader influence of the entire journal, therefore can understand which one have driven progress and innovation in certain areas. Sorry. We also can see who are the experts in a given research field. And last but not least, what is the recommended reading list for the specific areas? All right, so these questions aim to compile a list of key publications in the field. All right. Okay, the next technique is co-citation analysis. In it operates on the principle that publications frequently cited together share thematic similarities. All right. How does co-citation works? For example, two publications are linked if they are cited together in other works. All right. So this technique helps visualize connections and thematic clusters in a research field. Therefore, it can help to reveal the intellectual structures and also the underlying themes. But a major of course, the major advantage of co-citation analysis is the ability to identify not just influential publications, but also thematic clusters around them. However, it tends to focus on highly cited works. Therefore, it often overlooking the recent or niche publications. Right. So in summary, co-citation analysis is ideal for uncovering important publications and key thematic areas, especially the past themes or the foundational themes in the research field. All right. So we can apply co-citation analysis in three areas. The first one is cited reference. So this involves analyzing the references that are commonly cited together in various publications. All right. And also we can focus on the cited sources, the journals, the books, and etc. So this application will shed light on which publication platforms are commonly associated in the field. And we also can apply the cited authors to identify, to examine authors whose works are frequently co-cited. More or less similar like citation analysis. Again, in co-citation analysis, we often seek to answer several key questions to understand the dynamic of a research field. So these questions include, but not limited to, all these. Let's say if you are looking for intellectual structure. So the question is, what constitutes the intellectual structure of literature X, for example? So this question aims to identify the key themes and patterns in a specific body of literature. If we are looking into the researcher roles, so the question would be something like, who are the central, peripheral, or bridging researcher in this field? So this helps us to identify which researchers are most influential, which are emerging, and who plays a role in the research area. All right. You can also focus on the third one, which is the concept dissemination. So this question explores the spread and evolution, all right, of a specific ideas within the field. Number 4 is to look at the structure of scientific community, and the last one is the so-called evolution of the research field. All right. The third technique is bibliographic coupling. It's also one of the important techniques in science mapping. It is based on the idea that two publications sharing common references. All right. So bibliometric analysis, bibliographic coupling is important because when two publications cite the same set of publication, therefore it is assumed that they are thematically related. All right. Therefore, we can, in a way, we can actually identify the current trend. All right. So bibliographic coupling, very useful for scholars to understand what happened in the current literature, including it will provide a snapshot of a current state of research, making it valuable for identifying current themes. Again, bibliographic coupling also works similar like co-citations. You can map based on documents, source, authors, organizations, and countries. All right. So common questions for bibliographic coupling include, but not limited to this. So if you are looking into the recent emerging literature structures, therefore you can use the question like, what is the intellectual structure of recent or emerging literature? In this way, it will uncover the themes and patterns in the latest research, therefore offering insight into the current trends and development. You can also, secondly, identify the theoretical approach richness. So the question is something like, how does the intellectual structure of the research stream reflect the richness of the theoretical approach, right? And the last but not least is we can actually use co-cited bibliographic coupling, to understand the development of niche areas. So the question is, how has the intellectual structure of small niche acts developed through time? Right. So here the focus is on understanding the evolution and growth of specific, often specialized areas within the broader field. Right. The next one is the co-word, or another word of it is co-occurrence analysis. So in the literature, the co-word and co-occurrence term are being used interchangeably, but they are both the same terms. So but the primary unit of analysis is words. So unlike other methods that focus on citations, co-word analysis dives into the publication's content itself. So it examines how words within documents relate to each other, which often includes the keywords. All right. So this analysis will assume that words that frequently found together are thematically related. Therefore, they form the basis of understanding the intellectual structure and themes within the field. So it's a direct method for mapping the conceptual landscape of research by analyzing the language of researchers' use, right? So how co-word analysis can help researchers? There are two ways how it can help in bibliometric analysis. The first one is the content analysis of thematic cluster. Therefore, it can help researcher to examine the content within each thematic cluster. Therefore, provide insight into the core subjects and also the concept that define different areas of research. Secondly, the most important one is the forecasting future research trends. By including significant words from sections of publications, co-word analysis can actually be instrumental in predicting and shaping upcoming trend within the field. All right. So you might understand now that there are three different techniques in bibliometric analysis which can examine the past, current, and future trends. So we started with core citations analysis. So core citation analysis can determine the past trend, whereas bibliographic coupling can determine the current trends, and co-word analysis can predict the future trend. All right. So in co-word analysis, researchers often seek answers to several important questions to determine the conceptual landscape of a field. For example, number one is to understand the conceptual structure of dynamics. All right. So this question seeks to understand how a certain topics or theme develop and interact over time within the field. Second question is the fundamental concept identifications, which focus on pinpointing the core ideas that form the foundation of body research. All right. Number three is the topic association. So what topics are associated with a specific line of research? So here the aim is to map out the interconnected topics within a particular research trajectory. And the last but not least, so-called concept evolution tracking. So we can trace the evolution of concept X, right? Therefore, we will see the development and changing contours of specific concept through the research literature over time. Last technique is the co-authorship analysis. So it involves the collaborative networks among scholars in a particular research field. So it considers the co-authorship as a formal indicator of intellectual partnership. We can reveal the interactions and even connections between researchers. All right. We can also see the attributes such as affiliated institutions and even countries in understanding the extent and nature of these collaborations. So these are some of the questions used in co-authorship analysis. All right. We want to look at the interdisciplinary collaborations for the first one. And then the second one is related to citation impact of co-authored work. The third one is the collaboration frequency of the prolific authors. And the fourth one, which is the last one, is the international collaborations and citations. So these are some of the questions used by researchers in their research, in their publications, in analyzing the co-authorships. Okay, now we have done with the theoretical part. Let us move towards the hands-on, the practical part of these presentations. So how to implement bibliometric analysis. So these are some of the procedures that I'm using to publish my bibliometric paper. You might have other ways to do this, but mine is a very simple and easy way to publish a bibliometric analysis in a journal publications. So the first step is define the aims and scope of the bibliometric study. So this foundational step guides the selections of the appropriate bibliometric analysis techniques and the collections of relevant bibliometric data. So it involves determining what you want to understand or uncover about a research field and setting the boundary within which your study will operate. For example, in our studies, this is our topic, bibliometric mapping of psychological flexibility research, trends and future direction. So this bibliometric research is actually perform an analysis of the publication on the subject of psychological flexibility, which use the bibliometric techniques. So the aim is to offer a comprehensive snapshot of the trend, the past trends, and also the emerging trends. All right. So it can be that we are using core citations or bibliographic coupling, but it is definitely using keyword analysis because of the word future here. But the trend here is either past trends or current trends. So it can be either core citation analysis or bibliographic coupling. All right. So secondly, after you have established the aims and scope, the next step is to choose the appropriate bibliometric analysis techniques. All right. So these decisions should be based on specific types of bibliometric data that will best serve the objective of your study. So the technique selection can either precede or follow the preparations of bibliometric data. However, it is essential that chosen technique align closely with the study's objective. All right. For example, if our goal is to identify the structure of collaboration within psychological flexibility research, therefore co-authorship analysis will be pertinent. Ultimately, the technique must be apt for revealing insight that meet the study aims, whether tracing the evolutions of the field, or identifying key research clusters, or even forecasting future research directions. But in this case, our objective is twofold. Therefore, the first one is to assess pivotal past studies. So we utilize core citation analysis to evaluate the foundational studies within psychological flexibility research. So this technique will help us determine which publications have historically been most influential, thereby identifying key works and authors that have shaped the field. And secondly, we want to identify the future trends. Therefore, we apply the core word analysis to predict emerging trends within the domain of psychological flexibility, right? By examining the frequency and patterns of terms used in recent literatures. So we can forecast potential directions for future research and or even identify the evolving concepts. So again, we only choose two techniques here, core citation analysis and core word analysis. After you have chosen the technique, now is to collect the data for bibliometric analysis. So the first thing you have to do is to identify the search term. Remember, you have to carefully comb through existing literature to pinpoint the relevant search term. You can even collaborate with colleagues or consultants with those who are subject matter expert to refine the list of terms to ensure comprehensiveness. But in this study, we only use the word psychological flexibility. We do not use any other terms related to it. And then secondly, you need to choose or select a database. There are many databases you can choose. Web of Science, Scopus, Dimensions, Google Scholar, you name it. While it is possible to use or combine databases to consolidate findings, but maintaining a single format for analysis is important for consistency. In this case, I prefer to use Web of Science. Some other people use Scopus because medical science literatures mostly use Scopus, so it depends on your area as well. And of course, last but not least is data cleaning. So once the data is collected, it is important to cleanse it by removing duplicates and correcting any error entries to ensure the quality and also the accuracy of the analysis. So this is how Web of Science looks like. Scopus, all right. All right, so this is our search string, the inclusion criteria that we use in order to get the relevant publications. So the search use, of course, we are using the Web of Science database, and the time period here is that we did this extraction on April 16th. So I believe there are more papers published after April 16th. Until now, it's been more than 5-6 months, I believe. So this research was conducted on April 16th. Therefore, only publications published until that from its inception to April 16th were considered. All right. So in terms of search field, the search used the phrase psychological flexibility with an asterisk symbol in order to capture all related terms and phrases that stem from this root word. All right. So the search was conducted in the topic field of the database, which typically includes titles, abstracts, and also keywords. This to ensure a focused yet comprehensive retrieval of the documents. So in terms of all topics and subtopics, which is the meso level topics, I'm sorry, in terms of meso level topics, we choose all topics and subtopics, sorry, which related to psychological flexibility. All right. And when it comes to document types, we only includes documents that is classified as article, which generally refers to peer-reviewed journal articles. And also we limit the documents published in English to ensure that the data is accessible and can be analyzed without language barriers. Now the next step, which is number 4, is the data collection volume for bibliometric analysis. So the data set must be ample to support robust bibliometric analysis. All right. Of course, the target range of the publication should be within 200 to 1,000 documents, as suggested by the literature. But some other researchers also include less than 200 or even more than 1,000. It's okay. It depends on the area of research. Some area of research like mental health is more than 10,000, even 100,000, I believe. But it depends on you, but not too many or not too less. But it must be focused to remain within the confines of the research field. All right. In this case, our data, our result, the inclusion criteria, the search string that we use, and using all the inclusion criteria, the total number of publications that we retrieve is 3,535 publications. So if you look at this figure, the publication was started around, I think, 1978, but only until somewhere around, I couldn't see the figure, but it was in the middle of 19. Let me check. Sorry. I believe it is around 1991. Somewhere around 1991 that the publication become increased. And you can see that the trend is keep on increasing. Therefore, we can understand that the topic, the literature on psychological flexibility is still a trending topic because of the amount of publication every year, which are increasing, right? So the total citation also been cited at least 73,713 times in other academic work. So as you all aware, citations are important as they reflect the influence and recognition of this publication in the scholarly community. So it's considered very high. So in terms of H index, it shows 110. So H index is a metric that combines productivity within the citation impact. So a H index of 110 means that out of total publication, 110 have been cited at least 110 times. So this is a strong indicator of the significant impact and also the relevance of these works in their respective field. And last but not least, the average citation count, 20.85 per article. So I can say that on average, each publication has been cited about 21 times. So this kind of average citation count help us to gauge the overall visibility and also the influence of the research output. Okay, the next one, I think this is the final part or final step, is to focus on preparing your bibliometric analysis report. All right, you need to analyze and also report the findings. So each journal has its unique preference and requirements. If you notice, if you go and search my papers are very straightforward. There's not much of performance analysis. I'm focusing more on science mapping and the evolutions of the particular field. So that's my style of publications. But it's important for you to adapt to the journal preferences. Different journals have different expectations. Some might value extensive theoretical discussions. Therefore, they allow for longer, more detailed papers, but others might prioritize brevity, focusing on concise summaries due to strict word or page limits. So why this is important? The choice of journal should align not just with your research topic, but also with how you present your findings. So the right style can make your paper more appealing to the journal editors and also the readers. Also important for you to research your target journal. Many journals do not favor bibliometric analysis papers. They feel like bibliometric is not so insightful compared to systematic literature review, or or other type of systematic review. And also, it's important for you to craft your report. Like I said just now, if your target journal favors theory, don't shy away from diving deep into theoretical implications and discussion. But if it's more on reporting, focus on being clear, direct to the point. But all in all, you need to balance the content with the style. Regardless of the journal's preference, balance your content with the appropriate style is important. So your data is important, but how you present it can make a difference in how it was being received. So there are many types of software that you can use to run the science mapping, but I generally favor Force Viewer. It is free. You can download it via website. All right, but there are other options to be choose as well. All right. Okay, so back to our objective, our study objective, which look at the past trend and future trend of psychological flexibility research. So in co-citation analysis, we can actually identify the top 10 co-cited reference first, with which looking into the strongest total link strength. You can see that in this table, these are the top 10 co-cited references, and the top 3 were Hayes et al., Bond et al., and also Hayes et al. So we can see that these 3 papers are co-cited the most in this particular field, with the total strength shown in the table. Now, we can also map the co-citation analysis. So we can see that from this figure, there are 5 clusters with unique themes that were identified. So we can see these clusters are collections of publications that are connected and have a similar themes. So we can understand that the nodes with the same color indicate the same cluster, which is composed of publications that are similar to each other, right? So there are 5 different colors here. So each cluster will explain in this table. So we can see that cluster 1 focus on 18 publications centered around stress, coping, emotion regulations, and mental health assessment. We can see the representative publications such as Bonanno and Burto, Bond and Burns, and etc. All right. So this cluster, I would say, stress is the foundation of this cluster is on stress and coping. All right. I believe it is complemented by various scales for measuring stress and mental health. And secondly, the cluster 2 comprises of 14 publications, which examine the psychological flexibility, primarily within the context of ACT. It includes studies by Hayes and others, on ACT's effectiveness for mental and physical health issues, with the tools like AAQ2, MPVI, developed for measuring psychological flexibility. So this cluster highlights the psychological flexibility as a valuable construct in psychological assessments and treatment. And of course, the third one is contain 11 publications that focus on SCT and chronic pain management. It features work again by Hayes and others on SCT's contextual approach to psychological flexibility, with studies by McCracken and others on chronic pain acceptance and the applications of the psychological flexibility model to chronic pain management. And cluster number 4 with 8 publications and investigates experiential avoidance and the effectiveness of SET in addressing various psychological issues. So it discussed experiential avoidance, as a maladaptive coping strategies, and also highlights the SET's role in enhancing psychological flexibility and also treating mental health issue, supported by the the publications here. And last but not least, the past trend. All these are the past trends, right? Is the cluster number 5 also contains 8 publications focusing on mindfulness, psychological well-being, and also the therapeutic approaches. It features the works by Baer on self-report assessment of mindfulness, Braun and Rines, findings on benefits of mindfulness, Hayes, of course, the description of SET as the cognitive behavioral approach. So we can conclude that this cluster also includes tools for assessing psychological rigidity, and the importance of self-compassion in mental health and well-being. So we can understand that previous researchers are looking at all these trends. So what happened now? In the coming 5 to 10 years, are all the researchers still looking at those clusters? Therefore, we can determine that by performing the cohort analysis. So the cohort analysis revealed that psychological flexibility was the most often used keywords. You can see the occurrence there, followed by acceptance and commitment therapy and the rest of the 15 keywords. So we understand that these are all the important keywords used in psychological flexibility research. And again, when we do the science mapping, we can see that this figure shows the network structure of the keyword co-occurrence. So there are 3 separate but seemingly related clusters are shown in the diagram. So we know that in the future, it converges into 3 big clusters with regard to psychological flexibility. Now, so the table provides a comprehensive summary of the cohort analysis. So it compasses cluster levels, the quantity of keywords, and also the representative keywords. So now, due to COVID-19, so the researchers are moving towards mental health resilience and adaptation in the psychological flexibility research. You can see all these representative keywords. How we came out with this cluster label is by our inductive and also subjective interpretations. We look at all the keywords and we consolidate the keywords and we come up with our own interpretations. So secondly, the second cluster, which is in the green, shows that there are 15 keywords here, talk about psychological flexibility and chronic pain management. Of course, people are still looking at that now, although many years has been researching about chronic pain, but now people are still very much interested into looking at chronic pain management. And last but not least is the therapeutic approaches and efficacy in mental health. Right. So these are some of the future trends for psychological flexibilities. If you are still looking into this area, therefore you are still following the trend. But if you are not, therefore you might want to revise your research because you are no longer following the trend in the psychological flexibility research area, to be specific, right? All right, I think that's all. Thank you for your kind intentions. If you would like to ask questions about bibliometric analysis, feel free to reach me through my email address. And if you want to collaborate to write a bibliometric paper, also feel free to contact me via the email. Thank you and have a nice day.